Hi everyone, it's Bobby here. I thought it might be easier just to give you a couple quick tips in video format versus writing it out on the blog today. So that's what I'm going to do here. We are doing the envelope, which has this really cute interlocking heart opening and closure. And then I've got a little cute coordinating card to go with it. So I'm just going to share the quick tips. The rest you can read in the blog, but it's easier sometimes just to see as it's demonstrated. Okay, so to make this cute little interlocking envelope, you start with a 6x6 inch piece of our cardstock. And this is the pattern paper from Honeybee. You can use solid cardstock, but it's really easy if you have the paper pads just to use one of these pieces because you've got two different patterns, one on each side, to make your envelope even more interesting, and you can see the difference in the pattern. Now, to make this base, it's very simple. You're going to start by measuring the center. There's two ways to do it. I've done it both ways. Depends on what is your preference. But the first one I made, I started by using one of these 0-point rulers. And because this is a 6-inch piece, I know that it needs to match up at 3 and 3 on both ends here. And so what I did is I just went ahead and made a little tick on each side at 0. So it was just marking the center, okay? And then once that was done, I was able to put the piece on my score pail or cutting tool and then just score from tick to tick, so from center to center. And I scored. Now, if you don't want to do the measuring, another thing you could do is to create a template. This is exactly 6x6. And what I did is I marked at 3, 3, and 3, the center points. And then this is the exact center of the 6-inch piece of pattern paper. I put a little hole in it in the center so that I could then mark it with my pencil. And so if you do that, then you have your center point marked, and then you could bring each of the corners up to that, and that way you know you've got perfect angles. If that isn't what you like to do, another way you could do it is, we know that after we do our scores here, we're going to end up with a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 square in the middle. This is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, so you could lay this out and then use that as your guide as well. So basically 3 different ways. This one is a little bit more tricky. I'd almost recommend doing either the ticks and then scoring with your score pail, or using this and just doing your own folds up, okay? The next tip I wanted to share with you is you're gonna put these hearts in the corners. And when you do that, you want the corner of your pattern paper or your base paper to match up with the center of the heart. So it's like this. Now when you do that, then you're going to glue it down. Here's a tip that I used. I made a little template out of another piece of cardstock, and I just basically cut the same heart and then lined it up and cut. I used a ruler and a pencil, made lines, cut that, so that then when I'm working with the hearts, I can put this on here and then just put my glue in this section. And that way I'm making sure that I don't have any glue outside of where it's actually going to be covered with the cardstock, if that makes sense. So I found that to be really helpful. You want to make sure that you don't have any exposed glue. Especially if you try to fold it up later, you don't want them to be sticking together. So another little tip there. Another thing I wanted to mention to you, so these hearts, I'm using the Heartfelt pocket die, or the Heartfelt dies, and there's a number of different hearts in it. I ended up using the largest one from the set, and then I also used this one. So these are both the stitched ones, and I layered them together to get this look. And you can see I've got stitching around both of the hearts. But you don't have to use these two. You could use a different set. For example, here, on another one I made, I've got these hearts all cut out, and I used stitched, but then I also added this little scalloped heart to the top and made it 3 layers. And the reason I did that is I just thought it was so fun to see these different colors from the pattern paper that I used on this one. Another thing I wanted to mention, and it's not as obvious here, but there is a gradation in the pattern paper that I used on these hearts, and it's from this new pattern paper set called Sweet on You that came out in the Be Mine release. One of the sheets in the pad, you can see there's gradation in the color of the background. So what I did is I cut all 4 of my hearts out in a row here so that I would have a darker heart to a lighter heart. And then when I put them on my base here, I did dark, medium, lighter, lightest, so that when they were made into the rosette, they would have kind of a gradation of color. Now you don't notice it as much on this one, but you really notice it on here where you're actually going from one color to another, and these line up like this. So that's another idea to think about. This paper, by the way, is from the Sweet on You pattern paper. It's right here. In fact, I think I've got a full sheet. There's a couple different sheets in here that have different gradations, and I don't have it out in front of me here, but one of these sheets I used to make those hearts. So you can look for that in this set, or in this paper pad. Mine's completely apart because I've pulled different sheets out for different projects at this stage. So the other pattern paper I'm using for the base is the Back to Basics. I love this one just because it's all in black and whites, but there's so many really cool graphic prints here that it just, you can use that for almost any project. I love the look of black and white with a pop of color. So this is another one that just came out recently. Okay, now when you're folding this, another tip I want to share is just how you fold this together once you've put it all together. I'm going to start with the darkest color because I do have slightly different colored hearts. So you start with the one that, if you do have a certain pattern you want to share, start with the top or the bottom one, whichever, and then just go around in a counterclockwise direction and lay them all flat, one on top of each other. Then you're going to go back to this very first one, pick up that heart petal, and it's like, what you would do with the cardboard box, obviously. You're going to bring up this tab and put it down on top of the last one. And that's how it all stays together. Okay, now I added these little X's and O's on top because I just thought they were cute popping up. These X's and O's are a die that came out in the Be Mine set. They are from the pierced XOXO stacking hearts, and you get some really nice sized hearts in this set along with that one. And then the smallest of the pierced hearts that you can see here, I used for the backdrop of my card. So you can see little pig here. He's on top of the smallest of the pierced hearts from this new set. The little pig guy here, he is like so cute. He is from Bad Influence, which is part of the Be Mine set. And if you notice, I've got a couple X's and O's in here, and those are just cut from these X's and O's. So I used the X's and O's on the envelope, and then I also used it on the outside of the card and on the inside of the card. I had some extra ones, and I thought it'd be fun to add a few. Now the other thing I want to show you is this Happy Valentine's Day, And the To My Sweetheart, that's actually part of the pattern paper pack as well. And that came with the, let me pull this out here. That came with the Sweet on You paper pack. You can see a little sliver right there. And it's got all these cute little Valentine messages. Some of these you could use all year round, love you, hug me. But I did use the Happy Valentine's Day on the front of the card. And then I thought it would be cute to just add To My Sweetheart in here. And then I didn't even have to stamp anything in the inside. I just cut apart the phrase from this paper pad. So that's kind of fun to do. This background paper here, this check, is also from the Sweet on You. So I used a lot of paper from this paper pad to make this card today. Last thing, or maybe not the last thing, but getting down there, there's a little lip in this Angel Policy set. I love this little set. It's actually the Honeybee Stamps Angel Policy stamp set, and the little lip here is what I use to put the kisses, the kissing lips all over Mr. Pig. And I think that just turned out so cute. Last thing I guess I want to mention is, as long as I'm sharing tips, I have this die release tool from Honeybee Stamps, and you can see I've actually got some things on it, but I love this tool. I use it all the time. In fact, I just ordered another one this morning. It's just really helpful when you're getting dies out of intricate design, intricate design cuts out of dies. But I also use it to kind of move around my little pieces. I also, if I've got a little glue coming out, I'll take either edge and I'll just be able to get in there and get the glue out. And it works really, really slick. So this is the new die release tool. It came out not too long ago, but I would highly recommend getting it. It's a super great tool to have around, and I'm going to have a few of these in my studio. And I think that takes care of it. If you have questions, please feel free to leave a comment below, and hopefully this is helpful to you. But both of these projects are easy to make. They coordinate together. This is a finished card size of 4x4 so that it fits in the envelope beautifully, because inside the envelope you've got an allowance of 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So everything works out really, really well on here. You can take a look at the photographs too. But it's a cute little project and fun to make and fun to give. Have a great day.